sometimes it's hard to break up because it feels like you're giving up.
Exactly. And that's what I never wanted to do. He had done, so much for me and was there for me at like one of the hardest times in my life that to me, I just felt like, how can I let this go? Like, that's how I looked at it the last time we were trying, is there's no, after everything he's done for me, that was my mentality at the time. How can I leave him? We have to figure it out. So upon reflection, after I had the day that he had told me he wanted a divorce, and I like had a breakdown, and then I went back to the house like a few hours later, and I was like, okay, like okay, I get it, I agree. I want it to be as amicable as possible because it can get ugly fast, and I didn't want that, and we were on the same page about that. But upon reflection with that, I don't know, it was definitely for the best, and yeah.
Damn, that's kind of crazy because I can't imagine putting yourself through that last few years, right? Because it's just it must feel like you're in limbo. Because you're with this person, but you don't want to be, but you should because you have this certain sense of loyalty because of what he helped you through in the past. So you're just going back and forth constantly. I mean, how do you deal with that shit? Because I'm a very just kind of like, ugh, just get the fuck away from me. It
wasn't that I didn't want to be with him. It was more like I was like, how much can I deal with? Like, he parties a lot. So it was like, how much, like, for instance, like, that's like one example of like one of our huge differences. So like, how much can I deal with that? Like, I need to just accept that this is a part of who he is and stop fighting against it. But at a certain point, you make allowances that go against your value system.
Yes.
And I think that's where I was struggling the most. And it wasn't fun. Like, it's weird. Like there wasn't a lot of great communication towards the end, or any really. And there was a lot of, contempt, which is really unhealthy. And
there's a hard part right there too, because I just talked to a friend yesterday. I'm over here, Mr. Counselor, but I just talked to a friend yesterday because he split up with his girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And typically what happens is when you go through these conversations, they'll say things and you kind of pick apart what they're saying, right? Mm-hmm. So he mentioned something where along the lines of his girlfriend, she likes to party a lot. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned a couple of times, he goes, but it doesn't bother me. And I was like, well, hold on a second, dude. Within this conversation, you mentioned a few times that she goes out partying and it doesn't bother you. If it didn't bother you, you would have never mentioned it to me. It does bother you.
Yeah.
And I was like, the problem is that I think he doesn't want to be the controlling boyfriend, right? He doesn't want to be put in that light, and he doesn't want to give that reason to them to throw it back in his face. Mm-hmm. So for him, it's like, oh no, I'm cool with it. But I was like, see, you're not cool with it though. Yeah. That's something that's fundamentally something that isn't who you are.
Right.
You're not a partying person. You don't like the people that she hangs out with.
Right.
You don't like this stuff. This is something that you should be able to discuss openly. And if it's a breaking point for you, there's no way that you're going to be able to swallow this big pill every fucking time.
No.
And so it kind of came to head for him.
Yeah.
And he's going to go back and talk to her about it.
Yeah.
Because it does bother him, because I guess for her, she kind of travels and does her own thing without him, with her own bunch of friends who he says is not really her friends. That's like her party friends. And so he goes, I don't even know them. They're not really your friends. You're going out on these trips that you're not even paying for. Who's paying for these trips? And I'm just supposed to be okay with it. And he goes, yeah, I guess I'm okay. No, it's never, I guess I'm okay. Are you okay with it, or are you not?
Yeah. That's what I mean when I say, like, when you get into a relationship, you make allowances because they're a fucking completely different human being than you. So what are you okay with? What are you not okay with? And at a certain point, sometimes before you've done a lot of work on yourself, I think people tend to make allowances for certain behaviors or patterns that go against their value system, but they're not able to really register that that's what's happening until you're a year down the line and it's eating at you.
Yeah.
You know, it takes time for those things to have the effect that it will eventually have on you. And by that point, you're this far along into the relationship.
Yeah.
So it's like, how am I going to fucking give this up now? Why not put more work into it? But that's why I think it's so important to have done the work on yourself
Yeah.
before entering a relationship, so that you can know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with at the base level of who you're bringing into your life. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I call those things how I describe it to people. I always ask them, I was like, what are your pillars? And they go, what are pillars? I was like, pillars are the things that hold up your foundation. Those things should never shift.
Right.
And if they shift that foundation, then that might be something that you can't really compromise for. I was like, find out what are the things that you will never compromise for.
Yeah.
And for me, I have those things.
Yeah.
She never touches those things. We're completely fine.
Right.
Other than that, everything else is just fighting arguments and bickering. But the fundamental basics of who I am are not touched, and then she respects that and she loves those parts about me, then generally I think that anybody will be okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so for him, in his case, was he wants to be with somebody that likes to share life experiences with him, that they're allowed to have separate friends, and he wants her to have friends and go out. But when it comes to traveling and the free time, he would like for her to spend that with him, just so they could develop that part. He wants somebody to travel with, and all the time that she's traveling, it's not with him, and he's waiting at home. And it's like, well, that's something that you want.
A big thing.
That's a big fucking thing.
It's a big thing for someone like him.
Yeah.
Who that's like a part of. It's like the opposite of what he wants.
Exactly. And he's just like, no, I think I'm okay. You're not okay with it, dude.
If you say you think you're okay, like you're not okay with
There's
something.
definitely things that I like. She knows for me, it's like there's like definites that I have that she cannot touch.
What are your things?
For me, like for example, even though it may not seem I'm hyper religious, but like I do want to have somebody with Christian values, even if. Let's say later on the line, it's like, I don't really like going to church. I like Christian values a lot. I think that's the reason why I haven't shot somebody. So for me, I'm like, I think Jesus helps me out a bit. So I think I would like for my kids to have a little Jesus in their lives. Why the fuck not? So the kid can figure out if he wants Jesus in his life later on.
Yeah.
That's all up to him. But
Yeah.
I want to at least instill those Christian values.
Yeah.
Because just for me growing up, I know a lot of dudes that were pieces of shit and they don't believe in God now, but they kept a lot of their Christian values, loyalty, community, having open communication, not being afraid to show love. And I learned a lot of that from church. So I think that's what I really enjoy about it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one. Number two is strong family ties, is really understanding how important family is.
Yeah.
Because if you can't be respectful to your parents, you're not going to be respectful to mine. And you're not going to our relationship might be a little off. Because I think as I got older, when I was younger, I remember my dad told me, he goes, you need to be with somebody that understands what a good family is. In my mind, I'm like, dude, you just don't like broken people, huh? You fucking judgmental fuck. That's what I would say to him. And as I get older, I start to realize that there are things that happens to somebody at a young age that they don't know how to address, and they don't realize how it affects them as an adult. And that's basically what my dad was saying. He just said it in a very terrible way, and I'm starting to find that out now. A lot of my friends who do come from broken homes, not just broken homes, just terrible situations growing up, it affects them as an adult, and they can't see it, but everybody else does. Like being in a family sometimes where, and like I said, if you don't grow up with like two parents in a household, but if you see a healthy relationship from your uncle or your aunt, there are those, but there's some people who just don't see any of that shit. They don't see it from close siblings, like their uncles, aunts, their cousins or whatever.
Right.
And they don't know what that healthy relationship is. I see it a lot in my female friends who have this certain perception of what like male machismo is, like what a man should be. And they think, and this is my case once again with my personal friends. They're like, I want somebody to always take care of me. Guys have to do this. This is what a man is. But what are you basing that on? Who was the man in your life, in your household, that showed you that this was a man or is? And that's just like a reoccurring theme that I see a lot.
Yeah.
Or if they're the kid without a mom, they don't understand how to nurture. They don't know how to be emotionally available. Yeah. Because the dad was the tough guy. Yeah. And everything is, I have to be tough. I can't cry. Fuck your feelings.
Yeah. I think that it's possible, because I come from like a very broken like family situation. I didn't realize it. I mean, it's definitely possible to come from that and then work on it and come out
as long as you recognize it.
But you have to recognize it. I think that was like a huge, in the end, when I look back on my marriage, like that that whole relationship, it now is a huge mirror back to me as far as like what I needed to work on and the effects that all of my past and childhood and stuff was having on me, and in a completely negative way, and what I was, the things I wouldn't take responsibility for. And so since then, putting the focus back on myself, I think I actually started that after we had gotten separated.
Yeah.
When I went into therapy, that it takes a lot of work, but it's possible for someone to come from that situation and then kind of turn it around.
Oh, 100%.
But it's a fucking lot of work, and it's really hard.
Yeah, and I think the biggest difference is that you recognize it, right? Yeah. And just like anybody else, as long as you recognize your faults, there's a possibility that you can work on it.
Yeah.
I think with the few people that I know, it's hard for me to bring it up to them, and if I do, I'm the enemy. So I just don't even touch it. It's like, what's the whole point? Like if I tell you like, hey, I think as a friend that what's happening here with your relationship is that you have a very skewed perspective of what a man or a woman should be in a relationship. And it might be because you had a really rough life and you're damaged from that, and people are paying for the stuff that you paid for as a kid. And that stuff constantly projects out. People don't even fucking know it. Like when I first started going out with Mariel, she had this thing where she didn't know how to express her anger. And it used to piss me the fuck off because it comes out passive aggressively. I fucking hate that shit really because I'm expressive, right? So if I'm upset, I try to figure out how to say it. Sometimes it may not come out in the best way, but I'm always honest with my feelings.
Yeah.
She's not like that anymore. She's a little too expressive. I opened up Pandora's box and I fucked up. So I remember, this is like a very specific example. She would do some shit that would piss me off because I could tell that she's clearly upset, right? And she would do this shit where I would be asking her, hey, I know you're upset. She goes, oh, I'm not upset. And when you say it like that, my blood boils like a kettle was put in the center of the sun. I'm like, okay, when you say it like that, you're starting to piss me off, right? She goes, I'm not mad at all. Are you mad? Where's a rifle? I'm going to shoot this woman in the fucking face. And I'm like, listen, when you're upset, it's okay. We just got to talk it out. Be upset. She goes, I'm not mad. And then we'll be at... She's antagonizing me.
Oh, that's rough.
And then she's like passing... I'm like, okay, well, pass the salt, right? And then she just... pop! And slide it over. I'm like, oh, you're not mad? You just took all the lacquer off the fucking table when you slid that little salt pepper shaker thing, you son of a bitch. And so she would just do a passive aggressive shit like that, and her anger would come out this way.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were in the car and we went on a hike, and this is something that I really hated about her early on, was that she would do things. She was such an independent woman. She would just do everything on her own accord and not wait for me. So if we're hiking, she would walk like 1,000 paces ahead of me, and we're supposed to hike together. And mind you, I was fucking fat. You know what I mean? Leave no fat man behind. I think that was in the Bible. And so I'm just trailing behind her, and then she's just cool with it. I'm like, yo, I want you to walk at my pace.
Yeah.
Like, walk at my pace.
Yeah.
And I got fucking pissed. And then we were in the car, and I was like, you're upset because of what I said. She goes, I'm not mad. And I'm like, dude, I was like, and I'm mad now. I'm like, if you're fucking mad, just say you're mad. She turns at me, and this is the center console of the car. She goes, boom, boom, boom. What the fuck do you want from me? And I looked at her, I said, oh, my bad. I was like, oh shit, my bad. I didn't mean to, okay. I didn't know it was like that. Ever since then, she's been hyper expressive, and I regret that moment till this day.
That is fucking funny.
But the funny thing is, all jokes aside, I'd rather have that than having to deal with a pissy ass person for the whole day.
No, passive aggressive is so unhealthy, and that's how that was like one of my many flaws in my last in my marriage. Like it was now when I think about it, I'm mortified about the things that I used to do. I mean, I've worked on it, and it's very not really there, and I know how to catch it and hold myself responsible in the moment to kind of get out of whatever pattern of behavior I'm getting into. But that shit's like, it's unbelievably unhealthy to be passive aggressive.
Oh, for sure. Like communication is always key. Just learning how to talk things out. And there's this balance that sometimes people forget of how to be really affirmative with your words without being aggressive.
Yeah. And also communicating without assigning meaning to, because when someone upsets you, and you're trying to communicate what's going on for you, you have to do it without assigning meaning to their behavior.
Girls suck at that. Girls fucking suck at that.
It's
because you know why? What you bitches do? You bitches ask questions like it's a command. I don't even know how you do it. It's like, oh, so you're just gonna leave the garbage there? It's like, hold on a second. Are you asking me to take out the trash, or are you trying to fist fight me right now? Because I will fucking we'll put on gloves and we'll go. That's how Mariel does shit. She goes, oh, so we're just going to leave the air conditioning on all day. That's cool. And I'm like, are you? What is this? What's going on here? Just tell me to turn it off, and then we're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
Girls are so good at that shit, and it just gets under my skin. Oh God,
it's annoying. Yeah. It should get under your skin. That shit's annoying.
She always does that shit, but she's so cute. And I'm just like, oh, dude. But she still does that till this day. Like, it just bothers me. But then I always joke about it. So
do you say something in the moment, or like, do you like snap back?
No, now it just turns into jokes because it's not enough to get me actually angry anymore. So like, she just did that yesterday. I forgot. Oh, she had a dream. This is some crazy.
Did she get mad at you for something she dreamed about?
She got mad at me for something she dreamt about. So I couldn't figure out why she was so mad at me. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I just woke up. Like, I literally just breathed life 2 seconds ago. Well, how can I be? What have I done? You know, I'm just saying, what have I done? But she was cleaning up the house, and you know, it was something small where she goes, she looks at me and she goes, so you use 2 cups? I'm like, there's some meaning behind that. I'm like, yeah, I just used 2 cups. She goes, cool. Could you try after you're done using your cups to put it in the dishwasher? I'm like, oh, she's trying to get socked. I'm like, well, what did I do? And then, you know, we're just joking around. I'm joking around. I was like, hey, you don't fucking talk to me like that, woman. You know, I'm being cute and joking about it. And she goes, no, why don't you just put away your cups? And I'm like, let's fucking go right now. We're going to take it outside. And then she goes, oh, I had a terrible dream. I'm like, that's it. I knew it. There's something wrong. She had a dream that I was pregnant and I was going to give birth, and she wasn't ready to have a child, but I was ready to have it. That's why she was mad at me, because I was pregnant in her dream. Something that's not fucking physically possible. She was mad at me for getting knocked up. Well, bitch, who knocked me up? You did in that dream. You're the one who stuck your dirty penis inside my butt.